All right, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to have you for this event tonight where we're going to talk about entrepreneur design your own app. So just want to quickly introduce myself. My name's Jason. I am a program manager here at Av Academy for the UX UI Foundations program that we have. Just a little bit about my background. I'm originally from the Philadelphia area. I moved down here to Miami about 7 years ago. And I had a background kind of all over the place. I started in recruiting. I did a little bit in HR. Then I was fortunate enough to work my way into a instructional design role. And I worked facilitating workshops in design thinking, lean startup, a lot of these innovative frameworks for larger organizations to kind of help them think like an entrepreneur. So this topic is really close to me, and I love talking about this and discussing this. So I'm really excited to have you guys here with me while we kind of explore the path to entrepreneurial success and how UX UI design can be a great partner for entrepreneurs in their journey to sort of take their idea and turn it into an innovative idea, a disruptive idea that sort of breaks into a market and changes the way that people live for the better. So let's go ahead and get started. What we're going to talk about today is the secret of tech unicorns, right? So we're going to learn how UX UI design skills accelerated the rise of mobile applications and changed the world for the better. If you think to almost any product or service that you use today, there's probably going to be a mobile application associated with that. And UX UI design has a lot to do with taking that entrepreneurial, innovative ideas and making it something accessible for people out there to use. So what we have on our agenda, number one is going to be why the world needs entrepreneurs. Then we're going to move into UX design, your entrepreneurial ally. So how UX design and entrepreneurs kind of work together. We're going to learn about how do I learn UX UI design, and then can I get started today? So we'll go ahead and jump into this. I'm going to leave the chat open for you guys. You can feel free to post your questions in there as we're going along. We'll stop and answer anything, and I'll also leave some time for some Q&A at the end as well. But when right from the start, I'm going to ask you guys to send in a couple of your thoughts here. And the first topic that we have is why the world needs entrepreneurs. So I would just love for you guys to write in the chat, and I'll give you guys a minute to think of some things. But tell me, in your opinion, why does the world need entrepreneurs? So I'll give you all a minute and wait to see how you respond. Awesome. Yeah, innovation. I see employment. Change. Awesome. Yeah, these are all really, really great ideas. I just want to harp a little bit on the innovative side. I think I've seen a few of those responses come through right now, and just making products that people are going to want to use. These are all really, really great insights here, and that's kind of exactly what we're talking about when we think of entrepreneurs. A lot of times we think of them as innovators, right? There's some sort of entrepreneurial spirit. There's a mentality, a motivation, a drive that makes these entrepreneurs want to take something and give it to the rest of the world. So when we think entrepreneurs, we think, what is entrepreneurial spirit? It's that drive, it's that motivation to bring change and innovation to the people around you, to your community. So that leads us to an amazing quote, and I love to share quotes. So you'll see a few of them throughout the presentation, but an awesome quote from one of the best innovators of all time, Steve Jobs. And this was actually from Apple's Think Different campaign. Could have been, I don't even know, early 2000s. And this is what he had to say about entrepreneurs. He says, and while some may see them as crazy ones, we see genius, because the ones who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. And that's the exact mindset we're talking about when it comes to that entrepreneurial spirit is, crazy ideas that change the world. And the best way to sort of kind of look into that is look into what the impact of that entrepreneurial spirit is to look at the Unicorn Club. This came out, I think, at some point in the 2010s from CB Insights, and every single year they're constantly adding to it. But the Unicorn Club is a private company that hits that $1 billion valuation, and that used to be unheard of until the rise of tech and the advancements in tech. We're starting to see more and more companies break into that Unicorn Club faster than ever, at a quicker pace than ever, bringing simple ideas, things as easy as, calling a ride through Uber onto your phone, just blowing up and becoming these incredible, innovative products and services that people want to use. So, this is where passion meets work. This is what drives leaders to change and innovate and make a positive difference in the world. And think of, if we kind of zoom in here, you could see there's industries sort of all over in this Unicorn Club, right? You have, on demand, which is going to be like Lyft, Lime for the scooters. You have, you can see, fintech in there that's kind of helping bring banking into more convenient for people. But these companies have done something. They've struck a nerve with somebody, taking a very simple, idea and changing it for the better. If you look at something like Instacart, just a simple delivery service for groceries, that might seem, kind of insignificant in the grand scheme of things. But what it does is it changes, it really changes the life of somebody that's using Instacart. There could be somebody who, is a single parent. They're really trying to take care of their kids and be with their kids as much as they can. And when they get off work, instead of having to go and, sit in traffic and spend some time at the grocery store, they're able to just order on Instacart, go right home, have those groceries delivered, and it impacts their life for the better. And that's what pushes these companies into that Unicorn Club. That's what pushes these, entrepreneurs to reach that $1 billion value, because they've taken a simple idea and made it easier for people and improve the lives of people around them. So let's look, to stick with this Unicorn Club, this unicorn status, let's kind of take a look at what this is. So to become a Unicorn Club, we know you have to hit that $1 billion valuation. The total number of unicorn companies out there is about 1,200 right now. Some of the most established ones were Airbnb, Uber, Meta, Google. And then right now, the most valuable unicorn companies is Instacart, which we were just talking about. Stripe. Again, if you think of Stripe is just a simple payment transaction software, right? If you go on to any e-commerce platform or retail store that has an e-commerce platform and you purchase something, a lot of times that transaction is being used with Stripe. But Stripe has simplified the use of transactions so much so that everybody wants to use them. Businesses want to use them, consumers want to use them, because they've made that transaction so easy. That's why they've been pushed into that Unicorn Club status. Shein, the clothing company with clothes that are affordable and look great, another one that got pushed into that unicorn company status. Epic Games, and then ByteDance, you might know it as TikTok, just entertainment, but it's something that people want. So these are all examples of companies that have reached that unicorn status. These are all examples of companies that are most valuable today. And, like everything, there's always going to be new innovative ideas that make it in there. So what makes a unicorn, right? We've talked about some of the companies, we've shared some examples, but let's look at the traits. Let's learn from the best. What are the traits of a unicorn startup, of entrepreneurs? The first thing is it's disruptive innovation, right? It requires creative solutions that differ from industry norms. And one of the first examples that we can talk about for disruptive innovation was one of those most established unicorn companies was Uber, right? Taxi cabs, car services were the norm. That was the industry norm. If you wanted to get a ride somewhere and you didn't have somebody to take you, a taxi cab was the way to go, or calling a car service was the way to go. Uber had completely disrupted that industry by coming up with a creative solution. And it might have sounded crazy when it first came out, right? Open up your phone, call a stranger to come pick you up, get in their car, and then let them drive you somewhere. I mean, that sounds bizarre, but when you think about it, people enjoyed the convenience. They liked it. There was, safety, trust around, calling an Uber driver. They completely disrupted that innovation. The next trait of a unicorn company is going to be tech savvy. That list of 1,200 companies that are within that unicorn club status, 90% of those companies provide software products. Why? Because software is accessible. It's easy. Most people have it. It's something that's going to help you, like that grocery delivery service of Instacart. It's going to help get that to as many people as possible. Without the use of, software, that wouldn't be possible. And then the last trait that we have on this unicorn club list is customer focused. Over 60% of unicorns have a B2C, a business to consumer model. They identify ways to improve consumers' lives. And that is the main thing. If you have an idea, if you have a solution, as small as it might sound, if it's going to help somebody's life, if it's going to convenience somebody's life, that is when the users are going to come and use that product. And that's what these unicorn companies have figured out, is that if they can give a solution that's going to improve their consumers' lives, then they're good to go. And these are just a couple of the traits that make up that unicorn status. So let's move on to the next section here, right? We kind of understand, as an entrepreneur, as a startup, some of the traits of these super successful companies, right? Are these entrepreneurs, are these startups unlocking their potential with UX UI design? And that's what we have to think about. Let me kind of turn it back on you guys for just a second. Has anybody in this on this call heard of UX UI design before? All right, I see a lot of yeses coming through. Does everybody think that UX UI design has to do with something super technical, like maybe even coding, or have to do with some sort of technical skills between designing websites and applications? Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of yeses come through as well. And while it's true, yes, UX UI designers do possess some incredible technical skills to be able to come up with these designs of websites and applications that we use. The truth is, not everything within UX UI design has to be a technical type of skill. And there are so many amazing skills that you learn through the UX UI design process that help unlock the potential and get closer to these users, exactly like we saw on that unicorn list. And that's what a lot of these companies are even trying to mimic now. Some of these larger companies, because they're so big, they want to get back into that entrepreneurial mindset. And that is what UX UI design is helping them do. It's helping them get closer to the users, get into that entrepreneurial mindset, and constantly innovate to stay in the market and stay competitive. So again, I'm going to go back to another quote. As I mentioned, we love quotes here to kind of get us into that UX UI design mindset. Something Henry Ford, the entrepreneur of Ford Motor Company, said back in his day was, if I'd asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. And this is a hilarious quote, number one, because it just goes to show that when you ask somebody what they want, they're not always going to be able to explain it to you, right? Cars were not accessible back then, right? Not many people had cars in Henry Ford's day, and they knew they needed to get to some places faster, but they didn't know how to do it. So when you ask them, they're not going to be able to tell you. So Henry Ford was able to kind of give us a little bit of insight into what that UX UI design mindset means. And we'll kind of keep going here with a Henry Ford case study on disruptive innovation. So this is all about being user-centered, and let's kind of walk through this together. So the auto industry, right? In the early 20th century, the automobile industry was a playground for the elite. There was custom-made luxury cars that were just dominating the scene. If you had money, you could afford a car. If you didn't have money, you could not afford a car. And cars were custom-made. There was no standardized production to make these cars. It was something that you went and bought, and it was being put together in a very meticulous way. So this is where the disruptive innovation came in from Henry Ford. He was a disruptor who challenged that status quo. He came up with innovation in the form of the Model T, which was a standardized, affordable car that brought the automobile to the middle class doorstep. Right, the middle class was not a class that could afford a car back then. It was only available to the elite. But he figured out a way to make it accessible for the largest market that there was in the United States, the middle class. He was tech savvy. He turned his vision into reality, right? He embraced technology. He blended machines with assembly lines that allowed for innovation, for quicker production, making cars more accessible than ever before. So because of his tech savviness, right, being able to see the technology at the time, he was able to use that to his advantage and turn something so luxurious, so scarce as a automobile and make it on a mass scale. And then lastly, he was customer focused. He focused on that customer to the core. He manufactured cars at half the price of the competition. He replaced the reliance on horse and carriage, and he opened up an entirely new era of transportation. So what does this have to do with UX UI design, right? We're talking about automobiles way back in the early 20th century using machines that designers wouldn't even know how to operate in a production line. So, but what does this have to do with UX UI design? And that's where the idea of user-centered comes from. You hear that a lot in the design world, in the innovation world. It's bridging that past to the future with the entrepreneurial spirit with UX UI design. This wasn't just about cars. It was about empowering individuals, providing an affordable means of travel for the average person. His customer-focused approach transformed not just an industry, but the way people lived. And that is the exact same blueprint that we were talking about when we were talking about the Unicorn Club today, right? Uber transformed the way people live today. Instacart transformed the way people live today. All of these, even Airbnb transformed the way people live today, right? Going on vacation used to be a little bit stressful, having to find hotel rooms, especially if you're going with a large group of 10 people. Airbnb completely changed the way that we're able to travel. So the same way that Henry Ford brought cars to the doorstep of almost every single American, that is what the UX UI design, the user-centered approach is going to help you get closer to. It's going to disrupt the norm. Like Henry Ford, entrepreneurs must disrupt the existing norms, identifying pain points, envisioning solutions that bring value to the customer. It leverages technology. You embrace technology. You embrace technology, design, and efficiency for disruptive outcomes. If you're not embracing technology as an entrepreneur, you're going to get left behind. You're going to get outcompeted, right? You need to embrace the technology that we have, the advancements that are coming, and use that technology to take your idea to next levels. And then customer-focused design, focusing on the customer, create products that not only address pain points, but also revolutionize the way customers experience and interact with their product. That is the Henry Ford blueprint, the UX UI design blueprint. It's exactly what you see in that Unicorn Club as well. So these three things are really critical as an entrepreneur when you have your ideas. And why is that? It's because it's about need finding. Okay, if you go back to that quote from Henry Ford from before, right? If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. That's because at first glance, right? Pretend this is an image of an iceberg here. You see the top part where it says design thinking at first glance, and then there's a line, and then you see the bottom part where it says reality. That's under the surface, right? So in the spirit of Henry Ford, let's explore why entrepreneurs today need UX UI design, can use UX UI design. It's because it's the key to addressing that user pain point and providing valuable product experience. At the surface level, people will tell you their preferences. They'll speak to you. They'll tell you anything on their mind. You'll be able to observe behaviors, but you need to go deeper than that if you really want to address their needs. And that's what the substance level is all about. You will find below the surface the value that people hold. You'll be able to understand their point of view. They're not straight up telling it to you. They're not specifically communicating that and voicing it, but you're getting it in different types of trends and patterns by, kind of going beneath the surface there. And it's up to you to make meaning of their stories, right? So what we think about with UX UI design is not just taking things that people say at face value. If you're, as an entrepreneur with your idea that you have in mind, if you go and ask 100 people on the street what they think about your idea, there's a high chance 90% of those people are going to tell you it sounds great because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But if you took some time to really sit down, understand them, get to know them, understand, what they're thinking, and then sort of take that data and dig into it, you're going to be able to take out some patterns and trends and really find out what it is that is beneath the surface that can sort of meet their needs. And that's what we do, as entrepreneurs, as UX UI designers, is discover that need. So here's just, the facts from that CB Insights, Unicorn Club that we were looking at before, that was, showing us, all the companies that got to that $1 billion value from startup. They succeeded, but there are a lot of companies that do not succeed. And this is CB Insights own survey on the consequences of overlooking UX design in your entrepreneurial journey, right? So in the ever-evolving startup landscape, the absence of user experience can pose significant challenges. 20% of companies in that early phase, 20% of startups, 20% of entrepreneurs fail because they ignore their customers and neglect their feedback. They don't want to hear what the customers are saying, which is, exactly going back to that iceberg from before. If you're sort of neglecting your customers, you're taking everything at surface level, you're not finding anything in that substance level, you're not going to really find their needs. So that's a huge consequence of overlooking the user experience. The second thing, the number one reason why entrepreneurs were failing, is because there was a lack of understanding of the market need. They were building a solution and looking for a problem. They were not targeting a market need. And that is just human nature, right? Think of somebody that comes to you with their, with some issues they might be having. As humans, we love to just jump to conclusions. And that's the biggest problem. You might have identified a problem and you might think you have a solution for it, but without following the process of user experience, without following the process of design thinking, you're really not uncovering the true needs, and you're going to be completely missing the market that you need to be looking out for. And that's, as you can see here, that's the biggest consequence that people have, is they don't understand the market they're building the solution for. So how do we do that? How do we get to figure out the true needs of our users, the true market that we can be targeting with our idea, right? We have that idea. We want to keep, we want to build it. We want to get it out there to people within the community. How do we know exactly who to target and exactly what needs our users have? Before we go forwards, just want to share this quick survey with you guys. We're going to, go on to the last section here, but beforehand, I would love for you to scan this. If you don't have, a phone, I can go ahead and post the link in the chat here for that survey. Just give me 1 second. And if you complete this survey, it will give you $250 off the Foundations program. And we'll talk about that Foundations program in just a little bit. Let me get that link for you all. All right, just put it there. Okay, so let's keep going. So the last question, or the last part of the last agenda item here, is how do I learn UX UI design, right? We've talked about the success that entrepreneurs and startups can have. We've talked about the blueprint for that success, right? Disrupting industries, being tech savvy, being customer focused. And we've come to the conclusion that in order to do that, in order to, break through and have that success as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to design for your user. So how do we do that, right? As we have all stated, there's a lot of, thought behind UX UI design as being technical, as being something that you need to have these technical skills to do. If you're somebody that comes from a business background, or somebody that comes from, the auto background, how are you going to possess the skills of UX UI designer in your entrepreneurial journey? The solution is, it's so much easier than you think, and it does not have to be a super technical thing. So Alva Academy, just a quick showcase here. We're elevating your entrepreneurial outcomes. This is where our UX UI Foundations program and your entrepreneurial spirit meets design innovation. And we can do that in 3 ways, right? Design thinking for your business ideas. Your idea, your light bulb moment as an entrepreneur, we can help provide a special method to improve that business idea by understanding what your users really want. Through our foundations program, you can get all the help you need from mentors, advice, support from experts whenever you need it, guiding you through the world of UX UI design specifically for your business. And you can learn quick. In just 8 to 16 weeks, you can develop the skills that are needed for UX UI design for user experience. Make your business look and work great in just a few weeks with practical hands-on experience. You will take that idea that you have, bring it into this program, and you will be able to understand the skills and the process of UX UI designer to get as close to your users as possible. And this is the process that we that we love to teach. It's a very popular process through, from every level, right? From entrepreneurs to smaller startups, to medium-sized companies, to larger companies. Design thinking is, tried and true for getting close to your users. So this is where, with UX UI Foundations, you can bring that learning to life. Av Academy's design thinking methodology, expert mentorship, elevate your entrepreneurial outcomes by your moment, right? Bring your idea, picture this as your moment with your idea that is just waiting to shine by following this process here. And let's kind of talk a little bit about what this process is. So design thinking is sort of that, think of it as a toolkit to becoming that tech unicorn, right? All of those companies that we talked about in the Unicorn Club have gone through this process to understand what their users need. And this is sort of an iterative process here. So it starts with empathize, which is basically market discovery, right? We dive deep into understanding the target customers. We discover their needs below the surface, right? We remember that iceberg picture where it was sort of, at first glance above the surface, but then the true substance is under the surface. And that's what empathizing with our users will do. We'll hear them out, we'll understand their pain points, and then we'll take that into the define phase. That is where we locate the consumer desires, right? We empathize with our users, we help let them open up, get that information from them. And then in the define phase, we identify the right problems to shape our product concept with a clear purpose, right? Your idea is one thing, but your idea will change depending on what you discover from your users in that empathy phase. You might be building for something, and when you talk to your customers, your users find something totally different out. And that's the beauty of this process, is you're going to be able to sort of reshape your concept, right? You don't have a physical, working item yet. You're just sort of in that discovery phase, and you can shape and mold your product concept with everything you're figuring out from your users. From there, that's where, once you define it, you understand your customer desires, you jump right into that brainstorming phase. You think of as many ideas as possible. You will learn techniques to think way outside the box of possibilities to address those customer desires that you learned in the previous phase. Once you sort of work through your ideas, that's where you get into that prototype. This is where a little bit more of those technical skills that a lot of you were mentioning before on UX UI design come into play. But don't worry, we have mentors. It's not very difficult to learn. As long as you put in some time, you'll be able to build a prototype, a working, tangible model of your product that's a blueprint for what you want it to be at some point in the future. And this is we'll walk through a example of this together to show you how it can kind of be built, this entire process to build a prototype. But this is what you use for testing, right? You don't have to invest, really any money into a product. You don't have to invest with developers to build a product, because you don't know if it's going to work yet, right? You have your idea, you've talked to your users, you figured some things out, but when you build this prototype, you then get to test it. And that's where you're going to gather your consumer feedback and, again, adjust your product as you need to. And this is an iterative process. It's something you can do over and over and over again once you learn the skills to do it the first time. So that's the amazing thing about this, is your idea that you have in your mind can completely change through the first go around with this design thinking process. And then when you get to that test, you can see you're also maybe missing the mark in some places when you test out your prototype, which is going to help you further iterate it into a better product, getting even closer to your users. And that's the amazing thing about this process, is once you learn how to do it once, you can keep doing it over and over and over again. And each time you do it, it's just bringing you closer and closer to your users until you come up with something that really addresses their needs and is something that they're going to want to use. So to show you an example of what this looks like in our program and that kind of design thinking process, we're going to walk through an idea of how we can help guide your initial product into a market ready creation. Bottom line, a great user experience seamlessly becomes part of the user's life. I know we keep talking about Uber as an example here, but think about how quickly and efficiently and mindlessly you just open up that Uber app when you need to get a ride somewhere, right? It's not even a second thought, right? It's not like when it first came out, you were kind of trying to figure out what Uber was. Nowadays, almost anybody that needs to get somewhere that doesn't have a ride just pulls out their phone, opens up the app. It is a seamless part of their life. And they got to that point by going through that design thinking process, over and over and over again, getting closer to the users, understanding exactly what they needed to create to be able to make it easy and accessible and a good and enjoyable experience. And that's what design thinking, that's what UX UI design will do for your idea, is make it an enjoyable experience for the people that you're trying to target. So let me show you really quick. If there's any questions, please feel free to post them. I'm more than happy to answer, but let me go ahead and show, as you guys are writing, I'll pull up an example of what we can, what this looks like in the course. Sorry about that. All right, getting it right here. Okay. How is it sharing? Okay, perfect. So actually, let me backtrack. So this is a portfolio. This is what you will at the end of the course kind of be able to show for going through the design, the UX design process. All right. So this is what a student brought in, right? It was an entrepreneurial experience. They had an idea of helping travelers sort of maximize their time away. And this is the product they came up with, Bonds Travel. It's a business to consumer solution. And then this is sort of what the prototype looks like, what the app looks like, right? It's taking your idea and putting it into a technical application. So this is how we kind of go through that process. And you'll see there's not really much technical skills needed, especially at the beginning. It's more that fact finding, that investigative approach. So all right, here's that process we were talking about, right? The empathize phase is also kind of a little bit known as discovery. You go through that competitive research. You understand what some of your competitors within your idea might be doing. You map it out. You look at different ways from surveys and interviews with your users to really understand what drives them, what needs they have. And then we take all of that information that we've gathered through that discovery phase, right? You can see right here the takeaway after that was done from this student. The product should be easily accessible, navigable, simple, and personal, right? This is what he found out that product needs if people are going to use this for his idea. And you bring that into that ideation phase. And this is where you sort of put that perspective that you found from that discovery phase. You put that hat of your user on, you think in their shoes, right? You can see we're coming up with different statements, right? As a vacationer, I want to do this. As a vacationer, I want to do this. And you kind of take that empathize and that discovery, and you start forming different ideas, different features that you might think would be great for your application, and you put it into these statements. And then from there, you start developing a better sense of what you're trying to create, how it would look in an application, how it would look on a website, and you start sketching it out, right? Again, just a pen and paper are needed for this, right? Before, it's really just discovery, very simple tools like Google Forms and things like that. Now we're just looking at a pen and paper, taking all that information we found and trying to just think how it might look on an application. It doesn't even really matter, right? So you do that sketching, you start building out the way that sort of the navigation of that app, right? When you open an app and you have that home page what are the buttons, are you going to have a menu in the left corner? You're going to have navigation on the bottom. These are just kind of things that you can kind of think out that are going to make that experience a little bit easier for that user. And then this is where design comes into play. At the end of this process, you start putting colors into this, you start putting design principles into this. And that's what our mentors will be here for, is to take your idea, that discovery, and come up with something just like this. This is the finished prototype that was done for this product, for this idea. It's something on an application. It's something that you can put in front of users and test it out, right? If you were part of his target market, he would call you for a potential testing session where you can take up this prototype and click around and see if it's something that you would use to gather feedback. And that is the amazing thing about this process, is in 8 to 16 weeks, you can take your idea and you can learn to put it into a working application and something that you can test and sort of gather some information on. So, and then you can see here with the testing, you of course, document the testing, and then you go and make changes to it, right? This was that first version that was tested. And then you can see afterwards, many things have changed, right? The color themes have changed, the way that the placement of the buttons have changed, right? This is all about your users and making a better experience. And to do that, you have to test it. And that's what you're going to learn how to do in throughout this program. Get that prototype out there, get it in front of people in a very quick process. No money invested into the product at all. Just ideas and prototyping. And then you can, constantly iterate until you're very confident that you have something that will work. And then that's when you can invest money to really have it built. So you can see this is just the entire process. Again, it can be learned in 8 to 16 weeks, and we have our mentors that will be there to help you out as you need. So I will stop sharing. I'm going to pull up one more thing here. All right. If this is something that you would love to kind of talk more about, we're very happy to have you schedule a call with one of our career advisors. You can take this link, you can take this QR code, you can scan it, and you can go ahead and schedule a call. If you need the link, if you're on your phone, I can go ahead and send that to you as well. Awesome. So there's the link to schedule a call. But this is a great opportunity to sort of, sit down with somebody, talk about what you have in mind, right? Talk about, you have this idea, you're unsure, about, you're unsure about what this, how you can sort of fit it into the program. And this is where our career advisors can talk you through everything, right? The time commitments that it takes, which can be, done in, as little as 10 hours per week. Depending on the time frame you're looking at. This is a great opportunity for you to talk logistics on the program. Your idea can be turned into something tangible in as little as 8 to 16 weeks. And we're more than happy to help you do that with guidance from some mentors that have been, doing this for a long time, been very experienced in the field. So please feel free to click on this, schedule a call, and we're happy to answer any questions you guys have. All right. If there's any questions, you can go ahead and post them in the chat. I'll give it another minute. All right, thank you, everyone. You'll get an email with this recording, and hopefully we can see you on a call and then talk through any questions you might have. Thank you.